Okay, so this week, what did we learn was the biggest threat to Britain, according to the National Security Strategy, and that is a flu pandemic. So no longer do we have to worry about terrorism killing us. We have to anticipate a pandemic of influenza. The strategy warned that this could potentially kill 750,000 people in the UK alone, and worldwide, tens of millions of people. So what do we make of this? I think, firstly, many people might be cynical and say, well, this is a government ploy to scare us, to increase fear, to increase their control over us. That's what people are saying about how the government has used terrorism to curb our liberties, through warning us and making us scared of terrorist attacks. But now there have been independent reports of the real risk, potential risk of a flu pandemic. And let's look historically. The last pandemic was the Spanish flu in 1918, that caused over 50 million people to die. And we had quite a few years back SARS in the Orient. So it's not like this is fiction. And this happens in history. Every period in history, this does happen. So I think we could either go two ways. We could either be completely cynical and say, no, this is all rubbish, this is just the government trying to gain more control, or we could become obsessive, compulsive, gain OCD, and never leave our house in fear that we're going to catch flu. Well, in the UK, those who are at risk of catching the flu receive the flu jab around autumn winter time, which I do because I have asthma, and the government says that I'm at risk. I'm an at risk group, being asthmatic. So I have the flu jab every winter. But of course, with such a pandemic, there won't be enough flu jabs to go around. We know that with the aging population, there are many elderly people, and of course they're at risk, and there are babies and very young children are at risk, and people with a very poor immune system. It's interesting, when we see in celebrity news and people talking about the size zero debate, and of course if you're underweight or you've got an eating disorder or whatever, you're at risk as well, because your body wouldn't be able to combat influenza. I think we just need to be sensible, and I think we shouldn't allow this news to put us in a state of fear, and we should carry on living our lives. But I think it is sensible to be prepared. I already take vitamin C tablets every day. I take one tablet a day of vitamin C, and I take Actimel, a yogurt drink, to increase to benefit my immune system. I think when people talk, libertarians have a lot of debates with anarchists who say, there should be no government and the government shouldn't be involved. But I think that if this threat is real, if there is going to be a flu pandemic, it is very serious, and it is an issue for national security, and I do believe that the government does have a responsibility to ensure that that we are protected. But in saying that, we also need to take personal responsibility and be healthy, and make sure that we are healthy, and that is our responsibility. And also hygiene, making sure because I mean I'm not. This video isn't me telling you how to combat influenza. Um, I think it is sensible to know the symptoms, to know the remedies, and to know what you can do to prevent contracting the virus in influenza. Um, so yeah, I want to know what people think about this. Does the government have a role, or is this like a very real threat? This is a threat globally, and of course, with the effects of globalisation, with the easy and rapid movement of people all around the globe, um, the strategy is saying that this is, it will be able to spread at a much quicker rate. And I think when we saw the SARS, we saw that that was a very real threat of how that um, spread across the Orient. And so I just wanted to know what people think about this, and what people are going to do, whether they just think this isn't true, they don't believe it, or if they do believe it, what is the right course of action? Is it personal responsibility, or should there be government programs to make people aware of this and help people be aware of what they can do to combat influenza?